Okay, so last week you used the equation energy equals power multiplied by time to work out how much energy had been transferred in various situations. However, on an electricity bill, as these are monthly or even quarterly, and obviously there's a huge amount of energy involved, the numbers would become very large very quickly and the bills would become quite complicated. So what they use is a different set of units to make the numbers easier. So the power, instead of being in watts, is actually measured in kilowatts. 1 kilowatt is equal to 1,000 watts. And that's what the little K means. K means kilowatt, 1,000 of. Mathematically, it means multiply the number by 10 to the power of 3. You'll do that in maths in year 9 and in physics in year 10. So 1 kilowatt is 1,000 watts. And the time, when we're working out the electricity bills, needs to be measured in hours. And as you know, 1 hour is 60 minutes. 1 minute is obviously 60 seconds. So therefore, 1 hour, if you want to convert that, is going to be equal to 60 times 60, which gives you 3,600 seconds. The time conversion is sometimes the hardest bit in these sorts of questions. So on your electricity bill, because the power is measured in kilowatts instead of watts, and because the time is measured in hours instead of seconds, the energy isn't measured in joules. The energy is measured in something called a kilowatt hour. And a kilowatt hour on an electricity bill, they sometimes call it a unit of energy. Better to write that in capital letters, not to confuse it with units as in like hours or seconds or minutes or whatever. So it's exactly the same equation as before, exactly the same sorts of calculations, but with the added complication, you need to make sure you have your power in kilowatts, your time in hours, if you want to work out your energy in kilowatt hours, and that's what they then use on something like an electricity bill. Okay, so let's look at an example. So in this example, let's have a 2 kilowatt heater. Let's have it used throughout the day for a total of 3 hours. And the question would be, how much energy has been used or how much energy has been transferred. So it's the same equation as before. Energy equals power multiplied by time, with the thing that we need the power to be in kilowatts and we need the time to be in hours, which in this question they already are. So that makes life easier. So power is 2 kilowatts. The time is 3 hours. So put that line of working there. Multiply those together. That gives us a total amount of energy of 6 kilowatt hours, not joules. They are different units. That's very, very important. Just to compare, if you were to work out the amount of joules that the same heater for the same 3 hours had used, you could do it. So you would convert, if you want joules, you need watts, not kilowatts. So 2 kilowatts is 2,000 watts. You need the time in seconds, not hours. So 3 hours is 3 times 60 times 60 to convert it into seconds, which is 10,800 seconds. So it's the same equation. Energy is still power multiplied by time, but this time, instead of 2 kilowatts, we've got 2,000 watts. Instead of 3 hours, we've got 10,800 seconds. If we multiply those together, we get 216,000 joules. Or if we put our commas in, 21,600,000 joules. Mathematically, you could put that as 2.16 by 10 to the power of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So as you can see, that's 6 kilowatt hours, which is a nice simple number to deal with and put on an electricity bill. That's a lot of joules if you're trying to do it in just joules. So this is why they use kilowatt hours instead of joules. So a question should make it obvious whether they want you to give an answer in joules or whether they want you to give an answer in kilowatt hours. So if you need to give an answer in kilowatt hours, make sure your power is in kilowatts and your time is in hours. If you need to give an answer in joules, make sure your power is in watts and your time is in seconds. Okay, so let's look at another example. This time, let's have a 500 watt fan, and let's have that left on for, let's go for 3 hours again. And the question asks, how much energy has been transferred, and they want the answer in kilowatt hours. So not joules, but kilowatt hours. So first step is exactly the same equation again. Energy is equal to power multiplied by time. But this time, we need our answer in kilowatt hours. So the energy is going to be in kilowatt hours. That's made of kilowatts and hours. So our power needs to be in kilowatts and our time needs to be in hours. Now here, time is in hours, that's fine. Our power is in watts, not kilowatts, so we need to convert. So the way to convert watts to kilowatts, well, if 1 kilowatt is 1,000 watts, do the opposite. So 500 watts divided by 1,000 equals 0.5 kilowatts. So the power, 500 watts, is the same as half or 0.5 kilowatts. So in our equation, the power is 0.5 kilowatts, the time is 3 hours, multiply those together, the amount of energy transferred is 1.5 kilowatt hours.